There's a lot of bad stuff with this whole Nico situation, but what Josh Heupel did is great for college football.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. Joey Aguilar is going to Tennessee. Oh, my goodness. Will Steve Angeli be going to Tennessee? No. Will he be going to Syracuse? Maybe. That's all on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Neither one of those things is like officially official, but it looks like they're going down. We'll get to it all on today's show. But this whole drama with Nico and Tennessee and UCLA, and they're swapping quarterbacks and all that good jazz, there's a lot of bad stuff in there. And I do legitimately feel for Nico for being at the center of it. I don't think he specifically asked for any of this. I do think the outcome of this situation is a net positive for the sport. What Josh Heupel did and what the entire Tennessee coaching staff, NIL collective, athletic department, whoever was involved, whomever, maybe, I don't know. Nobody likes people that do that, but I just think about it. Anyway, what they did is good for the sport. What they did is absolutely good for college football because they put their foot down and said, no, we are not giving in to any demand that you make. No, we are not going to pay $4 million per year for a quarterback who was good but was not great. He was not the best in the conference. Why would he be the highest paid in the conference? I don't know exactly what Carson Beck is getting at Miami. That's a different conference, of course. I don't know what Nussmeier got to come back to LSU. I don't know what Arch Manning is getting at Texas. $4 million at the quarterback position would put you in the top 1% of quarterbacks or just players getting NIL dollars in college football or college athletics in general. So for Tennessee to do that was, I think, a massive stand because it sets a very public precedent. You've got the most important position in all of sports. You've got a big name who was a highly coveted recruit who had an NIL deal before he took a single snap because he was so highly thought of coming out of high school, and deservedly so. And you had someone that just won you a bunch of games, and yet you were willing to kind of take the Bill Belichick approach of, nah, we're not dependent on one player or one guy. I loved what Josh Heupel said in the immediate aftermath of all of this. No one, including myself, is bigger than the power T. That's what he's saying. And that's what his actions backed up. Coaches, you hear the phrase coach speak a lot. They'll say a lot of things, but they don't necessarily do all the stuff that backs up what they say. Yeah, we like this guy. We want the young guys to get a chance. Then they might not always get a chance, right? That's a generic example, so I guess not an example, but you get what I'm saying. For Tennessee to have actually gone through with this and to just cut the cord and gone streaming, in a sense, I applaud them. I fully applaud them because what you have now is a reference point. You have an example, a high-profile example at the most important position in all of sports where schools can now look at Tennessee and say, well, wait, if they didn't do it, maybe we shouldn't do it either. Now, Tennessee might not be as good this season without Nico at quarterback. That's a completely valid hypothesis. Their win total, according to our friends at FanDuel, went down from 9.5 to 8.5. I think they'll still be a good team. I don't know that they're a playoff team this year. I think this is foregoing the short term to preserve the long term. And if I were a Tennessee fan, that's what I would want my coach to do, unless I felt this was a national championship season loading or a national championship caliber season, which I don't think Tennessee had. They could have had a better shot at the playoff with Nico there because you just made the playoff with him. Now you're working in a new guy, likely Joey Aguilar from UCLA, formerly Appalachian State. But what you don't have now is the burden of overpaying for a quarterback. So the reason I love this for the sport is one thing that's separated the NFL and college football over the years and now is starting to blend together a bit from a storyline standpoint, contract holdouts, right? That's how this all began. That's how this whole thing got started. Was, yeah, we're going to hold out for more money. Okay, well, not going to give it to you there. Well, in the NFL, what you have is quarterbacks and their agents will go to teams and they will kind of hold them hostage. And I think you see this more in the coaching realm in college athletics with how much money some coaches get. They might be worth a lot. Some coaches, I look at their contracts and go, I don't know about that much necessarily. But I do think that when a quarterback, in particular in the NFL, gets paid, like I was thinking about Daniel Jones throughout this entire saga, because Daniel Jones signed this big contract with the Giants, and everybody knew except the people in the New York Football Giants organization, who are a mess. Everyone knew that's a disaster. It's not going to work out. He's not worth that money. So that approach of just giving in to the players all the time is very anti-fan. I've been a fan of the NBA my whole life. I don't watch it as much as I used to. The excessive movement of players is a big part of that. That's not pro-fan. What is often pro-player, not all the time, but what is often pro-player is not a good deal for the fans. Guys moving around all the time as they did, and I think LeBron really started that off with his move to the Miami Heat back in 2010, 11, whatever year that was. That was, I think, the starting point of, yeah, this is now hard to keep track. Like, Kevin Durant is going all over the place, and, LeBron went all over the place. Like, it's not the same. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are not going to play quarterback for another team, barring the most shocking turn of events you can imagine. So when that sort of stuff happens, I look at it from the fan standpoint and say, yeah, that's not good. It's not good when a team just goes out and overpays for a quarterback. And so you saw Josh Heupel at Tennessee make a definitive stand of no. I don't care how big of a prospect you were. I don't care how much potential you have or what you did a season ago. You're not worth this amount. That took some guts. That took some stones, onions from Josh Heupel. And by the way, that ripple effect made its way up to Syracuse, New York. Talking about the Orange later on today's show, but Fran Brown publicly came out and said Trevor Pena, their wide receiver, was asking for $2 million. And he said, yeah, you're not, the guy at Ohio State, referring to Jeremiah Smith. You're not that. We don't need you for that. Okay, go ahead. Go. I hope you find a new spot. Really intriguing transfer prospect, by the way. Penn State would be a really, really good fit. But for Syracuse to go out publicly and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. I think that there is going to be, the pendulum has swung way over in this direction with the player empowerment era. I think it's going to start to swing back, and these are the first kind of initial moments that you'll look back on and go, boy, that really got the ball rolling. Coaches were willing to put their foot down and say, no, we're not going to just pay this guy whatever he demands just because he's good. We're not going to be held hostage as a coaching staff just because somebody is talented. And I think the NFL organizations that do that don't get benefit or are not benefited more often than not. I don't think the NBA franchises benefit from that. I don't think anybody does. And then that results in a worse product for the fans. So I think what Tennessee and Josh Heupel did could be really, really good for college football. And yeah, some guys will be worth more. But when they go and are asking for money that they're clearly not worth or that they have not earned, I hope more places continue to say, yeah, you can't just ask for anything and say, you're going to give me a blank check. Like, no, not going to happen. So I like it. I like it a lot. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, all that good stuff. Joey Aguilar to Tennessee. Why not? Like, why not? Why wouldn't the Vols get maybe their next starting quarterback from UCLA? First, this episode brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, which is great. And their last minute deals save you up to 60%. I have used Game Time multiple times myself. I've been to a sporting event. I've been to a comedy show. Everything went great. Found a great deal. Knew what to expect upon arrival. Tickets delivered to my phone. Easy money. That's why you should check out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So recently I went on Eric Cain's show, Locked On Vols. We talked about a number of things, most notably Joey Aguilar, because I tell you what, that is some good, juicy stuff. Here's what that conversation sounded like.
Content, storylines galore. Immediate reaction to the expectation of Joey Aguilar signing with the University of Tennessee.
I hope the Vols got a second-round pick and cash considerations, too, because I don't think on paper that's a one-to-one fair swap. But I think this is just the quintessential 2025 college football story. Like, these things didn't happen when I was growing up watching the sport, Eric, and I didn't follow it as closely as I do now in the offseason. But, I mean, I knew what was going on. This is just where the sport is at. You don't have to like it. There are clearly plenty of people that do. Eric and I are making a lot of content about it, and people are eating it up because it's interesting. Like, you cannot make this sort of stuff up. Brandon Marcello gets credit for the best tweet of this entire saga. That the most 2025 college football thing imaginable is that Aguilar goes to Tennessee, Nico's at UCLA, they make a bowl game, Tennessee plays UCLA in the bowl game, and then they both sit out to get ready for the NFL draft.
It's
that's
wild,
where it's at.
Man. It's crazy. There's ample storylines. Tennessee. I mean, you would thought, and that's kind of where I'm going to get down to it. Like there were only two options in the portal at the end of the day that made sense for Tennessee. I mean, you and I were talking, about last week or something. You were going down the list of guys who were in the portal, and I mean, none of those guys were viable options for Tennessee. And sure, I thought it was always a pipe dream that Tennessee was going to get a sitting Power 4 quarterback. Remember, no SEC to SEC in this window, so really one of the other three conferences at the power level, a sitting quarterback to uproot his life, uproot his situation, come to Knoxville, try to learn the playbook, win over the locker room, win the job, all that and more. I mean, sure, there were agents, talking to collectives. I mean, that goes on across the country, but that would have been a tough pull. So at the end of the day, for me, it was Steve Angeli back up at Notre Dame, okay? Or once Nico became official, if Joey Aguilar jumped in, then I think he would have been an option for Tennessee. Lo and behold, that happened on Monday. They talked all day long. And then, of course, it was VolQuest, on 3, Chris Lowe, ESPN, Pete Thamel, everybody reacting and reporting on a Monday night that the expectation is Joey Aguilar will sign and play for Tennessee. So I think it was really that was one of the only options there. So, I'm going back to your joke, and it is funny, but it's like, what else could Tennessee have done, right? Because I think, Tennessee fans clamoring for Luke Ogmeyer or, Avery John or whoever the case is. I mean, it was going to be a difficult pull. So given the circumstances, given that it's April the 22nd, I'm not saying Joey Aguilar is going to go out there and win a Heisman, but you at least feel better about where you are than where you started the day, right?
I don't know that he'd be a guarantee to start. I'd certainly see him as the favorite if this opens up a legitimate quarterback battle fall camp. Because the interesting thing about it is spring football is pretty close to over, right? Like it's
over in Knoxville.
Yeah, exactly. The Vols are done, and so a bunch of other places as well are kind of winding down and get ready to transition to the summer months. So the coaching staff is about to go all in on the recruiting front because you're going to make up the bulk of your 2026 class in the next 3 months' time, May, June, and July. And so that's where your attention is, not who's our quarterback going to be. And come fall camp, I mean, that's going to be among the most high-profile, perhaps competitive quarterback battles in the entire country because you don't know. You can suppose, you could assume it'll be Aguilar because he's more experienced than the other guys, but experienced against who? The Sun Belt? Look, I am Sunbelt, Funbelt, Spencer. That is a mantra that I just came up with, and it's going to stick. I'm going to make it stick even more than the Sid from Toy Story accusation that I get all the time. I don't know where Woody and Buzz are. I don't. Stop asking.
I've never heard that.
Just wait, dude. I'm like 3 days away from getting my haircut. Once I kind of finish moving all of my stuff, I tell you what, it's uncanny once I get the haircut and go full Buzz. But anyway, so. The haircut, not the action figure. So the quarterback situation is wild. And look, is Joey Aguilar Josh Hoover? No. I love that Tennessee went and swung for Josh Hoover. However that makes you feel as a fan. I am someone who fancies myself as very pro-fan in the college football space because I think a lot of aspects of this sport and college athletics as a whole, unfortunately, are not. And so it is pro-fan to say, you know what? I get why you're frustrated that guys are moving around. There's not as much loyalty. It's not about playing for, the power T, as Josh Heupel said at the press conference. I get it. I then go to the Moneyball line. Adapt or die. Grady. Yeah. Adapt or die. And eventually, Grady got fired, of course, because he was getting left behind. So, I respect that Tennessee went out and tried to get Josh Hoover because that tells me Josh Heupel realizes what he's got, what the program is, the momentum they have off a college football playoff appearance a year ago. Yeah, they got blown out by Ohio State. Who didn't? Michigan, and then Oregon that one time, but then who cares, really, because they got blown out when it was all on the line. And so I think that for that situation, they were trying to make the most of it, but this is now the best you had. Because the other G5 quarterback that moved recently is Gio Lopez, going from North Carolina going from South Alabama, over to North Carolina and Bill Belichick. And are those two guys comparable? I think Aguilar's probably a little bit of a better player. He's more proven. I think both guys are capable, but I think it makes things interesting. At the very least, it makes things interesting and exciting. That's the upside for fans. The downside is, a lot of people bought Nico jerseys last fall, and I don't know what you put on the back of them now. It might not be kind.
There were a lot of iterations of Iamale something on the back of those jerseys. The
Iamale leaving?
Yeah, there was that. There was some bad words. It was pretty funny to say the least. But again, I don't want to spend the whole time because we're not going to do this for much longer. I just want to get a little something out there. But, how serious was Tennessee and Josh Hoover, right? I mean, again, he was not in the transfer portal. So, Tennessee staff did not talk to him. Agents, vetting, agents talking.
Hold on.
Tennessee's under the microscope, dude. So,
I know. I get that. And by the way, I'm not reporting anything with that reaction.
No, I know. I'm just saying,
officially,
it's like an agent going out there saying, okay, so interest there. What would it take? Okay, well, now we'll probably say here, and then agent turning around doing his job. Again, I don't know if this is to be case, but I could see this happening. Agent turning around saying, "Oh no, we're going to stay here. TCU, let's go." Whatever. It's not hook 'em, but whatever they say. He becomes a legend there for that fan base, and he probably gets a raise. So that's the whole thing
Go
about
Frogs?
This. What is it?
Is that what it is? Is it Go Frogs?
I have no clue. I'm not a TCU guy.
I forget. It's Go Frogs. I respect that Hoover stayed there, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, but that's the whole thing. We just don't know. And that's why this era is just so wild and wacky.
And so the quarterback carousel just keeps rotating around. Steve Angeli, Notre Dame backup, not going to Tennessee, just might be going into the ACC. First, this episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. It's fast and simple. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds. And when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. Plus, they have exclusive promos you can take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Does Syracuse have their next quarterback lined up in Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli? Jackson Holzer of Locked On Orange is here to discuss just that. So, Jackson, this could make a lot of sense. Angeli is experienced, but also not experienced in the college football world. But hey, Syracuse needs somebody, right? Last time we talked quarterbacks for Fran Brown's team on the show going into year 2, it was there were like 5 different guys that could realistically win the job. Would they add another into the fold?
Well, they were always going to add one. Fran Brown made that abundantly clear. The question I've had this whole time is, what type of quarterback are they going to add? Are they going to add in someone that's going to just be depth, maybe compete for the backup job and just give it to Ricky Collins as the starter, which is what it appeared to be the case? Or were they actually going to bring someone in that could, at the very least, challenge Ricky Collins to be the starting quarterback? And this whole situation is really fascinating. Fran Brown and Syracuse already committed to Ricky Collins. They did so publicly. They anointed him the team's starting quarterback. Then all of a sudden it comes out that he's got this hand injury right before the spring game. So we never even got a look of him. All right. Afterwards, you have the whole saga with Trevor Pena. And now we're here bringing in Steve Angeli for a visit. And I think he slots into the category of, at the very least, I think he would push Ricky Collins in a quarterback competition. I don't know if Steve Angeli is going to end up committing to Syracuse. It's just a very weird thing going on with the Orange right now.
It is strange. Injuries do happen in spring ball. There could be legitimacy there. The timing makes you turn your head and go, what is that really? Maybe it is. Again, you don't, no one ever plans to get hurt. So there's no, well, it would have happened earlier. The day before the spring game is kind of like, okay, all right, maybe. We'll see. Here's why this piqued my curiosity, Jackson. Angeli just left Notre Dame because it's pretty clear the Irish are going to go with CJ Carr. I almost said Lloyd Carr, who he's the grandson of, but they're going to likely go with CJ Carr as their starting quarterback. He shined big time in their spring game, and so Angeli hits the portal. I don't suspect he would want to go to a place where he's going to again be the backup, because he would have just had that. And yes, Notre Dame has 3 options. I think Notre Dame would have had him as the number 2 guy for, a second straight season. So why would he go from Notre Dame to an ACC school where he can be the backup there to a team that's not going to make the playoff? This is where the confusion comes in and the interest in this whole situation. It's like, wait. If he's visiting Syracuse, I would get the sense they're telling him, you have a really good chance to be the starting quarterback here.
That's my read on it too, because it's one of 2 factors. Either Ricky Collins is more hurt than what we are being told to think. I mean, they are saying like, oh, he'll be good for fall camp and all that. All is fine and dandy. Nothing wrong with Ricky Collins. Well, you're bringing in Steve Angeli. So is there something wrong with Ricky Collins' hand that we don't know about? Is it more serious? Or Ricky Collins was good enough to beat out Michael Johnson Jr. He was good enough to beat out Jakari Williams, but they still don't think that he's actually good enough. And so they're at least trying to get a look at Steve Angeli. And I agree with you, because why would Steve Angeli leave Notre Dame, where he would have been the backup, to then go to Syracuse and also be the backup? I don't even think he'd want to go somewhere where he would even have a quarterback competition. Play at a non-power 4 school. Get starting experience there, and maybe you can get your way up. It's just such a weird thing going on right now at Syracuse. Not that I have a problem with it. I think that's a thing that a lot of people are misconstruing right now is I have a problem with this. I don't. I just want to see Syracuse win games. I just find it really weird that they're so committed to Ricky Collins, and then they're sitting here bringing Steve Angeli in for a visit. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you that you're right to be curious about like what exactly is going down. And let's say and a hand injury too. How many hand injuries are 5-month ordeals? I mean, we're pushing towards the end of we're pushing to. Now I'm not a doctor, but I mean, we're pushing towards the end of April here. And if they kept an injury so serious, he's going to be out 6 months, which would push well into the season next year, and they need someone who they feel like could start right away, and they don't think anybody else is ready, then sure, I guess it would make sense. But if the public commitment to Collins is what makes this so odd, and maybe lends credence to the idea that, yeah, this hand injury thing is really serious, and we are not going to be able to have him ready by the time the season kicks off. And then if you're Steve Angeli, it would make more sense in that hypothetical world because, hey, even if they committed to this guy as a starter, the Patriots were committed to Drew Bledsoe until Tom Brady came in after he was hurt, and they said, yeah, this guy's too good to pass up. You would have a chance at a Power 4 school with some big-time games, including against Tennessee, and who, I thought they might add Angeli, but they go out and get Joey Aguilar from UCLA. You'd have a lot of opportunities to showcase what you can really do. So if that piece of information is just missing from the public's view, then that's why, we're all just sitting here perplexed.
Correct. I echo everything that you are saying right there. Maybe the injury is so serious to the point where they don't feel comfortable with any of the backups and they want to bring in someone who they also think can start. And Steve Angeli, from his point of view, is saying, hey, I can be the modern day Wally Pipp. Or the opposite of that. Who was it that took Wally Pipp's spot? I completely butchered that. Is it DiMaggio? Who took it?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, goodness. There's going to be Yankee fans that are watching, or they're going to be hardcore baseball fans that know this. I just embarrassed myself.
Let's pray this is an untrafficked segment.
You totally understand what I am trying to say. This has happened before in modern sports. You brought it up with Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe. I'm a Jets fan, so trust me, I'm traumatized from that moment. So, yeah, it would make sense it would make sense if there's an injury. If it's not that serious, what does that tell you, though?
He was replaced by Lou Gehrig.
That's what it was. God.
Yeah, Wally Pipp was the first Yankee to lead the American League in home runs, and due to his famous replacement by Lou Gehrig, players began to say they were Wally Pipped when replaced in a lineup, especially if it is due to a minor injury. So there you have it. Is that what's happening in Syracuse? Same state, different sport, different organizations, but the same state. So, hey, crazier things have happened. Real quick, would Angeli give you any more excitement about the Syracuse season? Because I think they're a classic regression candidate here. I think Brown's a really good coach. Their schedule is just brutal. You don't have Kyle McCord. You don't have Trevor Pena. You don't have Jackson Meeks. Just keep going down the list. But would Angeli change that calculation to you?
Good question. No.
Okay.
80. I mean, I like what I've seen in 80 career passing attempts, but I don't.
Exactly 80, by the way. Not 81, not 82.
Exactly 80.
Not 79. Exactly 80 passing attempts.
Right. I like what I've seen, but that's not a lot. I mean, it's more than 7 career passing attempts, which is what Ricky Collins has. But at the same time, this is not getting Kyle McCord 2.0, in my opinion. Kyle McCord was 11-1 as a full-time starter at Ohio State. We knew what his floor was going to be at Syracuse. He ended up probably playing more towards his ceiling. With Angeli, with Collins, there is such a wide range of outcomes. There's the outcome, it's very far, where they could be Heisman Trophy candidates. And then there's the other side where they could literally be the worst thing you have ever seen in your entire life. It's a mystery box. We have no idea.
Yeah, I'm really glad that that's how many pass attempts Ricky Collins has in his career. I thought you were just giving everyone a math lesson of 80 is more than 7. I thought you were picking an arbitrary number. I'm really, really happy that has a logical connection there.
It's not hard to remember that someone has only 7 career passing attempts.
Yeah.
That's enough.
It sticks out in your mind
right here.
Don't even need a third hand
right there.
in
you
there.
don't need 3 hands. You got it right here. You
do need 2 hands though. So that's enough math.
7 fingers.
I think that's enough math for today. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.